One of the many challenges associated with examining the ethical failings of the Trump presidency has to do with the sheer number of ethics issues swirling around the president, his staff, and his advisors. There are just so many points of conflict that it's easy to lose one's focus and find oneself tumbling quite literally down the rabbit hole. Pussy grabbing, alternative facts, nepotism, white nationalism, the misuse of government funds and private jets, the promotion of Ivanka Trump's designer fashion line from the White House, the promotion of Trump's latest U.S. property, Trump International in D.C., as the preferred lodging for foreign dignitaries by the U.S. State Department, the State Department's questionable promotion of Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort as the Winter White House, which, much like Trump International in D.C., has all of the associated dining and lodging costs paid directly to the Trump organization. There were the decent people on both sides in Charlottesville, the sons of bitches in the NFL. The war on the press saved Fox News, the open bigotry, and last but certainly not least, Russia. The questions, the investigation, the indictments. Regrettably, when it comes to questionable ethics within this administration, we are spoiled for choice. That said, my focus is on the president's violations of the Emoluments Clause of the Constitution by the continued flagrant and shameless merchandising of all things Trump. In the 80s, Wall Street's Gordon Gekko taught us that greed is good, and we lapped up that image and applauded his success. Now, 30 years later, the real-life Gordon Gekko has shown us what we all knew to be right in spite of our love affair with Stone's character. Greed, my friends, is not good. The president's conflicts between his business interests and the interests of the state are staggering. And in the I wouldn't believe it if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes column, we have the very first sitting president of the United States hawking his Black Friday sales deals on his very own Facebook page. When the Founding Fathers outlined the precepts and principles of our Constitution, particular attention was given concerning the corrosive atmosphere the pursuit of personal enrichment while serving as president would create. In their wisdom, they knew that unchecked power would ultimately lead to corruption. The Emoluments Clause exists as a check against the executive. It provides a clear outline of what a president cannot do in the way of filling his or her pockets while in office. The title of nobility clause is a provision in Article 1, Section 9, Clause 8 of the United States Constitution that prohibits the federal government from granting titles of nobility and restricts members of the government from receiving gifts, emoluments, offices, or titles from foreign states without the consent of the United States Congress. Before 2017, emolument was a word few had ever used before in everyday life. So to break it down into its subtler points, an emolument is merely a form of remuneration. Remuneration is considered the tips provided to an employee by an employer in exchange for the services performed. Remuneration, or payment, is a form of reward management. The rationale is simple. He who holds the gold makes the rules. With the State Department promoting Trump properties and senior administration officials promoting Trump's fashion line, it's apparent that these all-important ethical lines have been blurred, and the protections established to prevent this kind of behavior are being ignored. The immediate prior ethics czar for the White House has determined that President Trump is in violation of the Emoluments Clause, and various other watchdog agencies have reported the same and filed lawsuits in an attempt to bring this White House's apparent lack of ethics to heel. Monetary influence in politics, and in particular the presidency, is a very real and dangerous concern, and one we should all be outraged about, whether Republican, Democrat, or other. If we are to believe the staggering amount of documented evidence regarding Donald Trump's behavior as a businessman, our own eyes and ears with his continued use of divisive invectives and bigoted rhetoric both during the campaign and the entirety of his time in elected office, and the success he's had in pitting citizen against citizen, then the only conclusion that remains is the 45th President of the United States of America, Donald John Trump, is a deeply immoral and unethical individual who's quite comfortable using his office to fill his coffers.